And welcome. It's Richard Wade from ruralcrimes.com. I just wanted to do a very brief live video today. It's going to be the start of a series of videos that I produce relating to rural crime in particular. And one of the main reasons for this is there's been a lot of activity I've noticed on LinkedIn and social media, Facebook in particular as well, all about rural crime lately. This is a subject very close to my heart, and I'll go back to where this all came from in a moment. But I've noticed a theme over the last few weeks whereby the one common denominator in every single rural crime that takes place, whether that be in the United Kingdom, across Europe, or indeed anywhere across the globe, there's one common denominator, and that's the victim. And I'm not hearing a lot of stuff said about the victim. I'm hearing a lot about police force, police action, police funding being increased, and that's fantastic. I'm hearing news about the Labour government, Keir Starmer, making announcements that, there's going to be a focus on rural crime. There's going to be more funding on rural crime, and that's great. And all these things are brilliant. I hear a lot of insurance companies talking about rural crime prevention. There's a lot of key insurance underwriters gathering statistics on an annual basis, putting out reports and all the rest of it. But what I'm not seeing is too much information relating to the victims. So the farmer or the people who are being victimized on a daily basis. So let's look at that. I want to concentrate on that. I'm just sending an invite to somebody as we speak. So bear with me. We're doing this live as we go. So someone else is going to join me hopefully in the studio in a moment. So where did this all come from then? This rural crime malarkey? Well, the reason I've got such an interest in rural crime goes back to just when COVID was kicking off. So at that time, I had this idea. And if you go to my website, rascs.co.uk, and trawl back right through all of the news items back in 2020, I see you there, Gaz. I'll bring you on in a moment. Back in 2020, I thought rural crime needs some attention. And the reason for that is I was working for a large UK insurance broker called Lysits at the time. And whilst I was working in health and safety and risk management, I was very much aware of all of the crimes that were being committed that were leading to insurance claims. So my colleagues within the office here in Newcastle they were dealing with the insurance side, and I was very much aware of what was going on. So I'd hear about the quad bike being stolen from such and such a place, or the breaking and the damage and the strimmers and the lawnmowers and all these things that kept getting stolen on a regular basis. And what struck me was something maybe ought to be done about this. So I started investigating rural crime. So that was way back when. That was actually back in 2017, early 2018 when that was going on. I then set my own company up, Risk and Safety Compliance Services, and now ruralcrimes.com. That was set up in the middle of 2020 during the pandemic. And of course, rural crime kind of went off my agenda then, because all of the criminals weren't out and about stealing stuff. They were in their houses because of COVID. And so it went off my agenda. I had the outlines of the course that I had in mind. I had my ideas were still penciled out, but I never actually launched it and kickstarted it. But then fast forward to the last year or so, rural crime has really taken prominence across the globe, actually. And what's brought it home to me is the fact that this is a global issue. This is not just a UK issue. Let me just bring up some UK statistics to show you. I'll put them across the bottom there. So I'll leave that ticker in across the bottom there. So on average, in the UK, you can see all the bits that get stolen. That doesn't really change, sadly. So you could go back to 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, and on average, 50 million pounds worth of kit is stolen from rural businesses, farms, estates, agricultural and rural communities, about £50 million per annum, and that hasn't changed. Yet there's been a lot of talk about, as I've mentioned, investment in police, investment in all these initiatives, but it hasn't really made a massive impact. It has made an impact, don't get me wrong, I'm not decrying what's gone on. It's really, really vital that those activities continue at a pace and perhaps increase. We'll note some large insurance organisations recently lobbying government, requesting additional funding for rural crime initiatives, and that is brilliant, and long may that continue. And the police forces around the UK, these rural community police forces, are stretched, and you know, it's a difficult area to police. And I was speaking to a rural policeman very recently who I'm going to interview live, actually, in the not too distant, not today, but it's planned. We're doing a live interview with a current serving rural crime police officer, and we're going to talk about the real issues facing the crime fighters, the frontline police, and there are many that we're going to talk about. In the studio, I've got a colleague who works in covert surveillance operations, and I'm going to bring him in a moment. I won't mention his name and I won't mention his company. If he chooses to do so, that's great. Great. But I'll bring him in a moment. But before I do that, let me just go through a couple of graphics for you. I want to stress the importance of rural crime. And whilst I'm going through this, perhaps my guest, who's about to appear from his hide somewhere in the middle of nowhere, it might actually be underground, I don't know, but maybe that individual can start thinking about what we can talk about on the benefits of covert surveillance. There's a lot of it around, but you've got to pick the right people. And I'm going to bring on someone shortly who's a trusted commodity, who knows what he's talking about and has been there and done it for real. So we'll have a chat in a moment. But let's think about rural crime itself for a moment then, being a global problem, and it really is. I don't know if you've been following what I've been doing over the last few months. I've interviewed people live online. There's a guy called Adrian Humphreys from New Zealand. He works in a New Zealand local government. He works in a regulatory capacity as a senior manager in local government. And we were discussing the crime issues in New Zealand. And guess what? They're almost identical to those that we encounter here in the United Kingdom. I've then had discussions with people from the Dublin Technical University. And guess what? The same issues across in Ireland as we've got in the UK, which are the same issues that they've got in New Zealand. We've then had discussions with some eminent leaders in the field of rural crime investigation and rural crime research. And in particular, we've had contact with Kate Tudor from the Northumbria University here in the United Kingdom, and Kyle Mulrooney from the New South Wales University across in Australia. They've done massive research. At some point, I'm hoping that they will agree to join me on one of these discussions, so we can get it from the real experts. And I would urge you, if you're involved in rural crime prevention in any capacity, go and Google Kate Tudor from Northumbria University, Carl Mulrooney from the New South Wales Australian University. There's a lot of research out there, and they've done some great work that we can benefit from. So thanks to those guys for that. So there you go. It's a rural crime issue, but it's got global reach. It's massive. Let's have a quick look through my slides. If I bring on the next slide, I want to bring in that one common denominator, and that is the victim. Often overlooked, we talk about police response. We talk about funding, we talk about insurance, we talk about the newsworthiness of rural crime. And there's been a lot of news about it lately, particularly in Cornwall and the Southwest. We've seen ITV doing various newsreels and news items, and they've been reshared here across LinkedIn and other places. So that's great that it's spreading the message. So it's very newsworthy stuff. But what about the poor old victim? What's the impact on the victim? They are many, and I can speak from experience because I've dealt with them. You know, during my days with insurance companies, these were my clients, these were my customers. albeit I was on the health and safety side. These people were traumatized, and I've put 5 points there that we ought to consider when we're looking at the victims of rural crime themselves. They often feel violated and victimized. So if you imagine these rural businesses, they're obviously remote, naturally goes with the territory. However, they're also where people live. So it might be my place of work, but it's also where my wife, my children, and my family, other wider family members live, my partners, my boyfriends, my girlfriends, my uncles, aunties, sisters, very often family setups, and they are getting violated and victimized. It might be people breaking into my property, into my barns, my sheds, and my outbuildings, but equally that might include people breaking into my domestic dwelling if I'm there, or even if I'm not there. I'm going to feel violated, and it's going to leave me feeling, and you'll see point number 2 there, it's going to leave me feeling a little bit stressed and vulnerable. I know that someone has violated my property, they've breached my security. However good or bad that security was is a different discussion. But for today, let's concentrate on the victim. So I've been breached, I've been violated, feel vulnerable, and I'm going to feel stressed. It's going to have a long impact on me and potentially my family. There's various interviews that I've watched recently, videos online, where the victims of these rural crimes have actually stated they're considering giving up the business and moving on, doing something different because of the trauma and the long-term post-traumatic stress that often comes with these types of crime. So that's the personal side. Then let's look at what goes on around your business. Well, the criminals are there because they want to nick your stuff. So you're going to get violated. They're going to steal your machinery, your equipment. And there's some key things that they're looking for currently. In the last rural crime survey published by a very prominent UK insurance company, Land Rover Defenders were one of the most attractive items, and a couple of £1 million, here it goes, there now, £2.4 million worth of Defenders were stolen. They're nicking GPS tracking units, very attractive items. Unless they're properly secured, they're easily removed, they're gone. And before you know it, your GPS tracking unit from the top of your tractor or your combine, your ATV, your quad, all your strimmers, all your chainsaws, your leaf blowers and your lawnmowers, they're all taken off your property, loaded into a container, and before we even know they've gone, sometimes they're on a different continent. They're across Europe or Africa, or prominently now Eastern Europe. The effects of the Ukraine war has had a big impact on rural crime, and things are being stolen to order. Things that you can't get in one part of the world will be stolen in another part of the world and shipped out through what are very, very highly organized logistic chains and supply routes. These things are planned well in advance. And then there's the business interruption. If you haven't got a tractor anymore, or you have no GPS unit, or you can't operate because your kit's been nicked, your business is pretty much coming to a standstill. So business interruption and disruption is massive. And then there's the real threat of physical harm. These rural crime gangs, they're not averse to violence. And so if you encounter them during the act of them robbing you, taking your stuff, for example, they won't be, there'll be no, so 2 ways. They won't think twice about committing violence against you, violence against the persons or others, to enable them to make their escape effectively. And this is particularly relevant when they get caught doing hair coursing or fly tipping. They want to get away, and they want to get away unhindered. And violence is often part of that escape process. So there we go. So that's just been a very quick intro. Is my guest still available? I don't know. I can see he's still in the room. Let's see if we can bring him in. We are there. How are you doing, sir? Are you okay? Let's see if we got you coming up as G. We can probably hear you nice and clearly. Can you hear us okay?
Hi, Rich. Can you hear me, mate?
Now I've got you extremely clear. Hi, mate. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. Do you want to give us a quick intro as to what's going on in the covert world?
Yeah, quick one, mate. So when we spoke last time, I'm cutting about at the moment, just in my little den at home. So the camera's on and off. So when I get sat down with the brew, I'll whack my camera on. But
Well,
yeah, all
that's
good.
cool. Just so we're so we're live. So actually live now on LinkedIn and
Yeah, nice, mate.
live on the YouTube channel. So I've only introduced you briefly. You've dropped out there. I noticed that the feed's just gone. We'll leave that a couple of minutes, see if that's going to come back. If not, we'll move on. So let me just close that. Bring back in our guest. Yeah, and you're back in the room, as they say. We've got you nice and clear. Welcome. So I introduced you as a covert surveillance operator. Tell us what's happening. People are very interested in this topic at the moment, and the floor's yours, sir.
Yeah, so good to see you again, mate. I've been away for a month, but we've been very busy. But for those who maybe are listening that don't know, but I know I'm hoping there's a few people in there that are currently active as well that I've pushed out to come and join and listen in, and even hopefully maybe have a chat. But yeah, so we're made up of about, well, we're 10. There's normally 10 of us. At the moment, there's 6. Got a few guys away doing bits and bobs. We're basically a covert surveillance unit that do crop stuff. So it's all covert operations, all covert rural observation posts, if you like. We've for the last sort of 18 months to 2 years, we've been.
It's dropping out again. We'll leave that feed open, but it gives me an opportunity here to mention something else that's coming up. So in addition to the people watching, we know these get watched more after the event, actually. So this again is quite important. I'm going to bring you back in 1 second there, mate. Give me 2 ticks. But launching very soon is a new website, ruralcrimes.com. There's a landing page up there now. So if you were to go and visit ruralcrimes.com, you'd see our holding page where there's a little tiny bit of information, not much, just a bit of a web presence and a link to the online training course. And that's going to be the subject of a different chat. But for now, that just have in the back of your mind, ruralcrimes.com. What you can see behind me is a crime prevention website. It's going to be a collaboration of various people and activities. But let's bring in our friend again. You're back in the room.
Is that my connection or yours?
No, our connection's pretty good, mate. It might be yours, but whatever. I've got you clear now. Just leave it on audio. Don't put any video on because it's come through really clear. Yeah, just give us a quick background then. So how busy is the covert world at the moment? I see a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. There's various organisations doing a lot of stuff. Are you busy? Is there plenty going on?
Yeah, so I don't know what people heard then, but so about 2 years, there's 10 of us, 6 of us at the moment. We've got a few guys away doing stuff, but we're basically a bunch of ex-surveillance people and ex-reconnaissance people, mainly from obviously the army, and we do our own private surveillance work, and then 2 years ago we got together and said, let's get amongst the crop stuff.
Yeah, that's dropping out. So we'll give it one more chance in a moment, and then we'll see how we go from that. But yeah, but I'm really keen when we do get back on, if you're okay with it, to mention your company. I'm not going to mention it, but if you're happy to mention your company, I think we should do so. Let's bring him back in very briefly.
I don't know.
Okay, I've got you back in now. Just bear with me 1 second. So
I haven't kicking me out, mate. I think.
I haven't named your company at all, but if you want to, feel free, and where people can find you, and then tell us about what's going on currently in the covert surveillance world.
Yeah, mate. It keeps kicking me out for some reason, mate. But anyway, I'm Gaz from Covert Rural and Urban Operations. We specialise in covert rural surveillance, basically. Again, mate, I'm not sure what everyone heard, but we're a group of surveillance guys, ex-military, specialised in reconnaissance normally. And 2 years ago, we decided to concentrate on the crop stuff, so on the rural crime. And we just so we're basically surveillance operatives that got together to set this up. And So yeah, 18 months, 2 years ago, we set it up. Got into the rural crime, started chatting to people, local police forces and things like that, or people, contacts that we knew that were from the rural task forces from where we are, if you like. So there's 3 of us up in North Yorkshire, a couple down south, a couple in the Midlands. So we kind of operate across the UK, and
yeah, okay. So we're not getting the best connection. So that's Gaz. So Gaz is from Covert, rural and urban operations. Gaz is going to bring it in one final chat. I'll put your company name because you've mentioned it. You're back in, so the floor is yours.
Mate, just keep kicking me off.
Yep, you're in.
Yeah. So we operate across the UK, and we're actually, so what we do is it's the prevention, if you like. So we dig in OPs, we man them, and we also put in covert cameras and things. And it's off the back of a client talking to us and saying, we think that we may be targeted. We think we saw someone at 2 a.m. yesterday, for example. If that's the case, then we go and have a look. The CTR phase will go and have a look, see what's going on. We'll see where there's good ground for us to dig into with the client. We'll dig in and then wait for them. That's pretty much what we do. If someone turns up, we'll see them. We normally have a minimum of 2 men with other tech kit that's deployed around their land, if you like, or certain points where we think they're going to enter and exit. Yeah. So we're stood off. We're in an OP quite some distance away with kit and stuff. Obviously, it's normally during the night, but we have done in the past some daytime stuff. And it's actually what you and I spoke about, not about maybe 5-6 weeks ago before I went away, about the next phase of the operation, which we're actually going through at the moment. So, for example, down in I think it was Norfolk, the last one I remember that springs to mind is.
Good. Okay. Well, I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get Gaz back in. So there's Gaz's company there, Covert Rural and Urban Operations. Been working alongside Daz now for some time. We've had various chats. We're going to give it one final opportunity. It's not got the best connection there, but what we'll do is just talk about the benefits of these covert surveillance operations very briefly from my personal experience of them. So I've worked and still work very, very closely with some large national UK insurance brokers and underwriters, and often there are teams out there on farms, estates, high net worth individual sort of land, if you like, and rural businesses who feel vulnerable, feel that they're being targeted. And one that's cropped up fairly recently, where a farm worker who happened to see the same person who he doesn't know in the area walking the dog again. And it just triggered a bit of an alarm bell in his mind. And so a report to the boss gets on to their various sort of advisors, one of which was the insurance broker. And a suggestion was made, well, why not let's have someone look at it? And that took place. As it happened, it wasn't anything nefarious in this particular occasion, but it could have been. And so engaging those eyes and ears who are out there when the criminals are out there, because they're not coming around when you're wandering around. You're going to be asleep when they're watching and looking and making notes and looking for your security weaknesses. You're going to probably be fast asleep or on your holiday or off at the farmer's market or something. And so having people watching the people doing the watching is there and very, very important. That's where people like Gaz and his gang come in. So it was dropped out again. Gaz, going to give it one more chance, mate. You're back in. Can you hear us? There we go.
Mate, it's crazy. It's crazy. I've been listening to you for the last half an hour with no dramas. Yeah. I start talking and then just
it's not an issue, mate. You've probably heard what I was just saying there. The importance of people like you adding that extra dimension that perhaps the criminals may or may not have thought of. And the more that we can talk about it, the more that it can be known amongst everybody that there's the potential for covert surveillance, that you might be being watched, then that may well have a deterrent effect as well. So I'm going to give you the last few minutes, Gaz, and we are going to get you back on, mate, without a shadow of a doubt, and we'll discuss this in greater detail. But is there anything in particular that you think people ought to be listening to and know about regarding covert surveillance at this point?
Yeah, so first of all, it's great to see that over the last sort of few months, it's gained a lot of traction. There's lots and lots of people talking about it, which is really good, and which is something we never did for maybe a year and a half. And then we just decided, like, we'll go on LinkedIn, we'll start a chat, we'll see if there's any chatter going on LinkedIn, and there wasn't much, but there seems to be a lot now, not just from people like us, but a lot of insurance companies talking about it. The police seems to be talking about it as well a bit, which is great. But for us, basically, we're the prevention. So, like we spoke about not too long ago, is the tactics that we use are very that all reconnaissance and covert sort of crops operators will understand. But we're actually going through the phase at the moment of what happens during that phase. So it's like a disrupt phase. So
yeah.
So 2-3 a.m. in the morning. I was going back to the Norfolk. I think it was a Norfolk job. A couple of cars pulled up, left about a kilometre away, and then what we like to do then, or try to do, is put trackers on them, and then because they arrive to do their recce. These guys are it's an organised crime group. We all know how good these people are in any crime that they're doing, whether it's drugs or anything like that. But this is in particular, they're very good at what they do. So they will 100% come back, because they know that everything's going to be in exactly the same place as it was. Probably, like you've said, with keys in, with doors open, with things like that. So it's quite easy pickings, but we prevent that part. So when they return, we'll know they're coming back. Well, I say we know they're coming back. All their vehicles change quite a lot, and a lot of them have fake plates and stuff. So it's they're not too fussed about CCTV and things like that. But when they do come back, then we go through the disrupt phase, and the disrupt phase we did for the first time a long time ago was we appeared and just disrupted the whole thing. They then went back to the vehicles and disappeared. I'm still in touch with that client, and always have been, and he's not had any problems since. Now, that's a good case, but it doesn't always work like that. So in fact, it doesn't hardly work like that. So I think a while back we were chatting, and we're going actually through that phase at the moment. So working with overt companies, which it has to be like that. We think it has to be like that. There's no, and I've actually taken some good advice as well from a good couple of overt companies that are really good in what they do, and they've been operating for many years, all ex-military. And I think the connection has to be, there has to be a connection between the crops guys and the overt people, because that bit in between, that part in between is kind of no man's land. It's like, well, okay, what did you do? You were in an OP for 12 hours, and then you appeared in ghillie suits. You appeared in ghillie suits, and everyone ran away. So, but like I said, that's happened. We've done that maybe 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years, and we want it to happen. We want the disrupt phase to be done by us both, but we then disappear and move on to the next job. You see, it's the overt role to then go on with the investigation thing and things like that, which we are heavily connected with. But we need to do more work on it, because that bit in between of you appearing in a ghillie suit and cam cream, which we all love, but there's a bit of no man's land where it's like, okay, what next? And I've took some excellent advice from an overt security company, if you like, because we don't do security at all. We just do surveillance, and they have They have an intelligence networking system across the UK. They have intelligence, so ex-police detectives that investigate the crime, and they're the people. They do the things that we can't do in the operation, because, I mean, I can't write. I don't think any of us in our team can write a. We'd just end up writing with a head pen, and it'll just come out by Gaz age 4.5, and you know what I mean. But these guys are professional at what they do, because we can't put cases together to present to a court. We don't do that. We're not trained in that. It's not what we do. We just simply do rural surveillance. And
no, you're right, Gaz. And
you know,
I think,
but there's people out there that really, and the people who we're working with at the moment are really, really good. And then the intelligence system that you can input data in around the UK is just immense. But it needs to be. So I'd say that if companies, because I know there's quite a few out there at the moment, if they're thinking of similar tactics to us, which there may well be, which is totally fine, but we need to all get together and think about what the disrupt phase is of our operation, because at the moment we have one, but I think collectively with everybody around the UK, and I want to mention loads of people and things like that, but I was, you know, I've just got back from Mogadishu, so I haven't got time to contact them to see if they were willing, but to mention, but yeah, I'm sure in the very near future, now we've done this again, that we can all talk about that part. Another thing as well, I know you're clued up on people at the NFU and the insurance companies. We've never approached them. We've never really had much conversations with them, because you know what Mick's been saying and things. There's a huge disconnect, because the way we feel is, and I know people, it's that one liner that you hear quite a lot, is there's two people that make a lot of money out of this. One of them's the insurance companies, and the other ones is the organised crime groups. So that's difficult. That's like a brick wall saying you've got no chance, you know.
Yeah, there's a combined approach required, and there's a lot of that going on currently. And there's some key brokers, key insurance underwriters putting in literally millions every year into rural crime funding of police forces and vehicles and initiatives, and a lot of stuff that goes on in the background that doesn't get the publicity on purpose. There's various activities that are funded for rural crime prevention that they don't want publicized, but there is a lot going on. But I'm inclined to agree that there's a space here for a very much joined up approach that brings in the key stakeholders, and you know, we'll do our bit to try and achieve that. I think one of the key issues, and that's why I wanted this little talk today, this is why I was really keen to reignite this, was this slide here. To me, says it all. We can't forget the end game, and the end game is, if we disrupt rural crime, if there are preventative measures and initiatives and activities taking place that stop rural crime occurring, whatever they might be, whether that's covert surveillance, robust policing, arresting criminals, funding from underwriters and other organisations in the insurance and rural business sort of consultancy fields, wherever it comes from, if there's a joined up approach, the end game protects the victim, which is that farmer. Now, Mick Hawkes has spoken extensively about this, bless him, and he's bang on the money. That often it's the farmer who gets, or the end user, the victim of the crime, often gets overlooked, and they're the ones suffering. It's their families and their businesses and their livelihoods very often going out the window. And it's because of something you mentioned there, Gaz, and you hit it on the nail right on the head. These aren't messing around. These gangs are organised. They as you know, they know what they're looking for. They know how to get it. But more importantly, they're not stuck with a load of kit afterwards. They know exactly where it's going. They're highly organised, and but I keep harping back to basics. So it's a mixture of all these different activities. you can have the best police force, the best surveillance, the best everything in the world. But if Joe Blogg still leaves his keys in his vehicle, he's going to get nicked. And if they still leave the tracking units or on the vehicles, they will get nicked. Or if the doors are, so it's back to basics, really. I don't know if you saw the video I did a couple of days ago, but I did another.
I did, yeah.
Exactly. I did another wander around. That you can't make this up. Now, interestingly enough, the owner of that land, it has a number of farms in that area. One of them, we did a similar video. It was about a year ago when all this kicked off, and it was very similar findings. We've since had a conversation in the last couple of days saying, get a grip, or someone's gonna come and nick all of this stuff. So certain people have had their pants pulled down and their arses slapped as a result of that, to maybe get things as they ought to be based on it happening twice in two separate locations belonging to the same person. But you know, it just does bring home. It brings home to me that unless we get the basics right, you forget it. It ain't gonna happen, is it? You know, we gotta protect the end user. Right, so there we go then, Gaz. Gaz, I'm really so happy that you joined us, mate. I really appreciated it, and I know we've had a few chats over the past, and I really want to. Like you've been away, I've been doing various other projects, which has kept me away from rural crime as much as I'd like to. But we're reigniting it now, and I'm hoping to be doing lots more of these. Let's get lots of different people on, and let's get things moving. I've also got a plan. I'm working. I can't name them at this point, but I'm working with the very large, very known insurance broker in the UK, and we're at the early discussions about putting on an event, a face-to-face something where we can bring in covert operators, we can bring in police, we can bring in insurance people and underwriters, and just get some stakeholders around the table. For a talk about what's going on, what's the issues, and who knows where those kind of things go. But at least we'll all be having a good old talk about stuff and keep
sounds good, man.
Yeah, keep it in the news, as it were. Okay. All right. I do really appreciate your time, Gaz. I'm gonna cut you out the feed now. I'm not going to boot you off. You're just going to disappear off the feed while I wind up the little talk. I was only planning to do 10 minutes. We've done 37 and a bit now, so that's brilliant.
Good, mate. Good.
I say that I'm not sat there listening to it on the other end, so we'll see how it goes, eh? Gaz?
We'll have to get a few. It'll be interesting if we can get a few more of the covert surveillance guys, because there's more and more of them that they've actually. In fact, they're quite similar to us in that we were doing it for some time, but we didn't do anything on social media. We still don't. We just use LinkedIn. And after about a year, maybe a year and a half, we thought, should we maybe just go on LinkedIn and see what, and I think that's what a lot of others are doing, because there's some experienced guys out there that's really proper good blokes that I think they've done something similar. So they've been working in the rural crime area with the crop stuff, and they've for some time, and then they've just obviously must have got wind of it somewhere, and then kind of jumped in as well, which is great, because there's some awesome guys and companies out there that do very similar things to us. But I think the important thing is we kind of need to, and I'm going off advice that I've been given as well, is since being on LinkedIn and things like that with this, is we all just need to get together more and do more to have more reach around the UK. Well, we work all over the UK, and we are as we speak, but we're just a small team, so the more people that we can get together, and it'd be great.
Well, you're right, and it's an interesting point, actually, because I've worked around insurance companies literally forever. I mean forever.
Yeah.
So since 1997, when I first started doing this type of stuff, and I've always been linked into insurance companies with regard to health and safety and risk management, various other things. But never have I until last year. I'm going to, Thomas, thank you. I'm going to bring in a couple of, and Close Observation Group. I'm going to bring you guys across. There's some comments coming in now, which is excellent. I'll bring those on.
These are the guys. See, this is what I mean. These guys are massively experienced, and they do this. We're all very similar in what we do in our tactics, but things like this brings us all together, and it's, you know, it's just everything's on the table. This is what we need to do. Let's do it. And you know what I mean? That's great. These are the people that have, they're just massively experienced and great people as well, you know. So it's just great that, you know, that they're there.
Well, it really is, and for you guys at the Close Observations Group, thanks for watching and joining and taking part. Thomas, I'll bring yours in a minute, mate, as well. Thanks again. But I've been watching closely what's been going on. You know,
Sure.
These groups are, you know, they're involved. We've seen them on the news recently. You wouldn't know who they were, obviously, but even though you've seen them on the news very well. Doing what they say on the tin, you're not going to recognise them anywhere soon. But
it was good, impressive. I was out in Mogadishu. One of the guys sent me the link, and and had a little walk. It was see, it's great. It's things like that just gets everyone talking about it, which is what we need again. You know,
exactly, a bit of an impetus. And these little chats do no harm. LinkedIn's a great networking tool. I think this type of networking, so this kind of thing now, we can develop this going forward. So it becomes not just networking for people in business, because although that's very, very important, again, with the end user in mind, what's the benefit to the potential victim here? I think if we keep that as the ultimate message, that yes, there are many, many different businesses involved, but the aim is protecting that sort of end user. Then there's a common goal, and that's really, really important. So because that's Close Observation Group. Thanks for that. And we also Thomas, times 3 people who make money. Oh yeah, so you mentioned insurance and criminals, and then of course manufacturers. So you come and nick my quad bike. I'll give you another one. Typically, and this is a true story. One of my first sort of involvements in rural crime was on a large estate near Oxford, where they'd literally been ransacked. This is long before I was involved in this kind of stuff. I was the health and safety guy at the time, but I was discussing with one of my colleagues who was dealing with the claim, and everything got replaced. And so, going back to what Thomas says there, manufacturers, there we go, just sold another quad bike and some trimmers and some leaf blowers and a ride-on John Deere mower. And the buggers, but they didn't. But at that time, they hadn't taken any sort of risk advice on security. And then about 3 weeks later, they came back and nicked all the new stuff as well. And that's not uncommon. So there's a message here, isn't there? Let's
absolutely
concentrate on that physical security as well. So there you go. I think we're probably winding up now. Well, there you go. So Gaz, going to put you out to feed, mate. Thanks for joining us. You've been a star as always. Thank you very much. We'll have a chat again. None too distant. You're out of here. See ya. That's Gaz gone. He's still in the feed, but he's been put on silent, which is not a bad thing, Gaz. Just joking, of course. So there you go. Let's wind it up. It's Monday the 13th of May. So I'm Richard Wade, ruralcrimes.com. Just wanted to kickstart hopefully a bit of chit chat and a bit of traffic, hopefully with the slight difference where we can bring in key players. So if you're interested in joining us on one of these feeds, one of these events that I plan to do fairly regularly, then get in touch. Give me a shout. Yes is the answer, Gaz. Absolutely. Can you send that link on? So let's bring Gaz back in. Gaz, you got us? Yeah, so you're back in. So who wants to pop on Close Observation?
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Are they with you now? Oh, there you go. We got them. You sent them the link, yeah?
I haven't.
They're in. They've seen it. Okay. Or have we got Gary twice? Yeah, we got you twice. So Gary's dropped out. So close observation group, bear with me. I'm going to copy the link and send it to you through LinkedIn. If I can find you, there you are. Just bear with me while I'm snaffling around on this screen over here. I love this technology. So close observation group now has the link. You'll be able to click that. It's on your LinkedIn feed. Let's bring Gaz back in. Gaz, you're back in the room. I've just sent them the link to join us on the feed, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm not. I was just chatting to them, but I'm hoping they might, if they're not too busy. I know they are busy, but hopefully if they've just got a few minutes.
Well, we'll see how it goes. I sent them the thing there. Yeah, so the thing about this little sort of gathering, I think it's could become quite an interesting forum where we can bring people together from all angles. So this could include insurance and underwriters, and it could include land agents, and even down to things like solicitors and accountants with a vested interest in agriculture and rural businesses. Because you know, in fact, it's worth mentioning here, guys. So as you know, I've been working in farm, estate, and high net worth individual risk management for many years now. And what I know to be a fact is that when we're talking to farmers in particular, there's often a reluctance. So unless they've been a victim, then there might be a perception that, well, I'm all right. No one's nicked all my kit. And that is often the case. It is a difficult nut to crack to get people like farmers to invest in, say, covert surveillance or health, rural crime prevention training. So we need to be mindful of that. But there's other parties around the table whose interest it's their interest that the client is looked after. So underwriters and brokers and land agents, solicitors and rural accountancy organizations. And I find this with my training courses. I'll do a shameless plug now. I don't sell many training courses to farmers, my rural crime prevention, but I sell loads of them to insurance companies and land agents, and they give them away to their clients. That's how it should work. And that I knew when I kickstarted that, I was never going to get farmers to spend the money, because they don't. It's just they don't. Simple as that. That's not meant to sound. I'm not knocking it. It's just a fact. However, the underwriter or the broker, and there's a couple of key brokers in particular who care and who are invested in the process, they're more than happy to buy a bunch of courses and give them away with their insurance policies. And Gaz has dropped out again. But in closing, what I would say is, if you are in that game, if you're a land agent, an agricultural related advisor of any description, solicitor, accountant, agronomist, whatever it might be, or indeed, if you have a farm business or an interest in a farm business, you can also buy the training courses and give them to friends, families, and other businesses. Right, shall we give Gaz the last word? Gaz, you have the last word. You always get the last word, don't you, Gaz? I'm only joking, of course.
Quick one, mate. Close observation group just sent me a message saying they're really keen, mate, but they've just had to jump on a call at the moment, but they're massively keen on the next one. So it'd be good if we can do another one pretty soon.
I'll certainly be doing some more of these, and we'll see how it goes. And it's great that we've had Cog jump on and say a couple of words. Appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. I have got LinkedIn messages from those guys, and we've yet to have the conversation and the chat, but it's on the agenda. And Thomas Lloyd, thank you so much for taking part as well. And we'll just see what engagement, if any, we get. Not many people tend to log into live events like these. They know it's going on, but we'll see if we get any traction on the YouTube channel and also the LinkedIn page as well. Gaz, I'm going to close you off, mate. Catch you shortly. So in closing, I would just like to say to everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching live, brilliant, thank you. If you watch later on, thank you also, appreciate it. Feel free to do any comments or suggestions in LinkedIn or indeed on the YouTube page. But bear in mind, we've got a number of initiatives coming up. There's a private Facebook group, Rural Crime Prevention on Facebook. Come and join us. We've got a YouTube channel, Rural Crime Prevention on YouTube. Go find that. Come and join us. If you do that, please feel free to subscribe. That would be very much appreciated. All these events will go out via LinkedIn and via the YouTube channel as well. So we'd appreciate your engagement. And of course, these things only get reach if people do engage. Like today, we've had Thomas Lloyd, thank you. We've had the Close Observation Group, thank you. Huge thanks to Gaz there. And really appreciated from Covert Rural Observations. Covert Rural and Urban Observations. Gaz, that's much appreciated, mate. Come and join us, folks. We'll do a few more of these. If there's an interest, we'll keep doing them. But for now, I'm going to end the stream. It's been a pleasure.